Welcome to Cravings Control for Fat Loss. I'm your host, Laura Cavallo, former sugar binger, overeater, and yo-yo dieter turned fat loss and cravings coach for hundreds of busy women. Here at Cravings Control for Fat Loss, I'll be sharing mindset, movement, and metabolism strategies for those who are ready to ditch the fat diet cycle and slim down without counting calories, tracking points, or giving up any of the foods they love. Get ready to embrace progress over perfection, grace over guilt, and bring curiosity and learning to the inevitable ups and downs of your life. Expect a decrease in your cravings while seeing and feeling an improvement in how you look, how you feel, and your overall quality of life. I am so excited you're here, boo. Let's get started. If you're a busy woman who has struggled with constant cravings, intense overeating, and insatiable hunger, and you want to finally get a handle on your diet without gimmicks, fads, or eliminating, then I want to invite you to my signature program, the Cravings Code, which starts on Monday, September 25th. Enrollment for the Cravings Code opens on Wednesday, September 20th at 9 a.m. Eastern. During the 6 weeks of the Cravings Code, you can expect up to a 70% decrease in your cravings and overeating while adopting a more gracious, compassionate, and flexible way of eating that will prime your mindset and your metabolism to eventually eat fewer calories and sustainably lose weight if that's one of your goals. The Cravings Code will deliver one-on-one, high-touch coaching with me while connecting you to a community of other like-minded women in a small pod format. You will learn the Code6 curriculum, the same strategies that have helped my clients drastically lower cravings, finally stop fearing food, and stressing with every single bite. Follow the link below to add your name to our free email list and be one of the first people notified when the cart opens for enrollment on Wednesday, September 20th at 9 a.m. Eastern. The last day to join is Monday, September 25th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Today, you'll hear from Cravings Code client Katie, who shares her experience and success in the Cravings Code program. Katie grew up loving all types of foods and needing variety, but never knew what eating healthy was besides having salads, going low fat, or doing some sort of restrictive program. Throughout her adult years, Katie faced some stressful life circumstances that made it hard for her to stick to a healthy nutrition or exercise routine. So she'd fall on and off and kind of get back on track in waves. The last program she tried before the Cravings Code was fasting, but quickly realized when she joined how much she missed having breakfast. The Cravings Code taught Katie how to get back to basics, and now she's focused on how her body feels, her energy levels, the quality of the food she's eating, and she's happy that she's not obsessing about a fasting window or food schedule. Listen in as Katie shares how she navigated girls' night, travel, and stress during the Cravings Code. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of Cravings Control for Fat Loss. My name is Laura Cavallo, your cravings coach. And today I am so excited to welcome in one of our clients from the first round of the Cravings Code. Welcome on, Katie.
Hi, Laura. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yay, I'm excited to have you. And thank you again for being open to sharing your story and wanting to be on and, agreeing to do this. And like I was telling you before we hopped on, I think women can really get a lot of inspiration from hearing other women that have maybe gone through similar struggles. And so it's always best to hear it from people that have gone through it. I can say it all the time on Instagram, but people are like, yeah, sure. Of course, it's your program. Like, you're super excited about it. But for you to share your experience, I think it's a little bit more special. So thank you again for being here.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah. So I like to just start from the beginning because I know that so much of my eating issues stemmed from like being a kid and overeating at the dinner table with my Italian family, and then being a teenager and binge drinking and, all of the things that I learned in my teen years. And so I like to start from the beginning and share as much as you feel comfortable. But I like to just get started and hear about your history with nutrition and body image and dieting and what your early associations were and early learning patterns around that was when you were growing up.
Yes. This was interesting to kind of take a look back on because nothing really stuck out that was extra stressful or caused some eating issues. However, thinking back of like my mindset in, say, middle school and those preteen years and going into teenage years, I definitely was always comparing myself to other people's bodies. And not that I was overweight per se, but I definitely like developed a little earlier than everyone else and just wouldn't consider myself petite. So I do recall some memories of like, I wish I could fit into the clothes that my best friend is wearing, or just the little outfits that are just different when you have different body shapes. So
Yeah.
that definitely stuck as a memory, and starting to think about how I try to take that on my own accord, and having absolutely zero like understanding on how nutrition worked at that age.
Right.
I just was looking at like food. Does it have fat in it? Oh, it doesn't. So I can have this thing that has a whole bunch of sugar because it has zero fat in it. And just not understanding the mind and body connection between all that. So it didn't really lend itself into major problems. But as I got older and was able to make my own choices even more, it definitely gave me some chances to like eat other foods that I didn't know were good or not good for me.
Right.
So I definitely see some lifestyle issues from that time in my teenage years.
Yeah. Yeah. And so growing up, how was food talked about or related to like in your family? Was it like big family dinners, or were you guys like doing takeout? Were your parents active? Were you active? Did that, anything that you went through as a kid or teenage, did that shape anything into your 20s at all?
Yeah. Our family gatherings were typical. It's you surround yourself with the big table of food at holidays, birthdays, celebrations. One thing I do know, my family always sat down at the dinner table, and we did have like a typical regular meal. And my mom was really good at, we always had to have a salad. So that was like the foundation of, all right, you got to eat your vegetables. I was not a picky eater at all, but I did love food. Like I loved all kinds of food. Definitely finished my plate all the time. So I just really enjoy the whole food and trying different things out.
Yeah.
There was no agenda pushed on us.
That's good.
Just normal. We did have our ice cream after dinner at times, but I don't think that was like a sticking point to cause issues.
Good.
That was more me comparing myself to other people.
Right.
And then trying to fixate on that. But
yeah. And thank you for sharing that. And so you went on and talked about how you went into, you'd start trying like low fat foods and how you were eating that to change the shape of your body, change the look of your body as a result of comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah. And it was a secretive thing too. So that's, I guess I could see how that would lend itself into the secret eating or however that played out. But I just remember wanting to look like my friends, and I was in sports, I was athletic, just my body is the way that it is. Specifically the spot I always fixated on was my stomach area. So I just figured, all right, well, if I could find my own way of changing what nutrition goes in my body, maybe I can catch up to them. Or I feel like we're all eating the same things, so why can't I make the shape change?
Yes.
And just really not knowing anything about how any nutrients worked at all. I thought maybe I was trying to do it on my own, but it was embarrassing, so I didn't tell anybody either.
Yeah. And that's a totally normal thing to think, right? A totally normal assumption, like, well, we're all eating the same thing, so why don't I look like that person, right? Or why isn't my body changing like them? And we almost forget that, like, oh, our friend's like 6 inches taller than us, or our friend is just either bigger boned, or she's more thin, right? She's just taller and skinnier. And like, we like take genetics completely out of it when we're like, when we're younger, or even now, we like forget that genetics play a role. And so these habits, these were things that were happening in your teen years. How did that evolve into your 20s? And then when did you start to notice some maybe unhealthy diet patterns, or when did you find yourself stuck in maybe some dieting patterns that ended up kind of taking off and being a little bit more unhealthy?
Yeah. I did go to college and I went out of state. So I was completely, on my own and wanted to do my own thing. So I did your typical college life. I definitely had some more drinks and had to live on a college person's, money budgeting. So the fast food and pizza was split a lot. So I could see that, and I knew that was going to happen. It just is a common knowledge fact that you gain the college pounds for that. At the same time, trying to balance, like, hey, I know that I am going to be doing these things, so I need to also balance that out with vegetables and healthy food.
There you go.
Yeah. So, that's good. But the thing is, the drinking and all that, I didn't really understand how that takes its toll.
Yeah.
So with that, you get more snacky and you just, lend yourself to eating the easy fast foods that are not good for you. So no matter what the balance was during the day, that kind of canceled it out.
Yeah.
So college years were your typical kind of party time for sure. After that, I was trying to figure out what career I really wanted to do. And that got emotional, kind of like I lost my path here. Eventually I did find a career, but in between that, I bartended as well. So that was another kind of stretching that lifestyle of different shifts and being around drinks, and all of that was not very healthy at the time.
Yeah, it's a challenging lifestyle to be in. I had a similar experience to you where it was a lot of partying in college. I didn't know how to eat for health, right? It was like bagels and pizza and cookies. And then I did bartend after college too. And that exacerbated all of my unhealthy habits, all of my binge drinking, all of my overeating, fries for dinner and late night cocktails. And then you'd be hungover the next day. And then you're like, well, I need like a breakfast burrito and I need to lay around all day.
The cycle continues.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you came into this more emotionally stressful period.
Right. So after bartending and being in that, in between that time, I recognized, hey, I am not on the right path, like being healthy. And I would join a gym and even have a friend, partner up with me. So I would have these periods of time of focus, and then it would go away. So I've always had that, again, like all or nothing kind of attitude with things, trying to insert some good habits. After I was bartending, I did finally land a career in teaching, which I had no clue I was going to be doing that. That was a whole nother situation where you're spending a lot of time and effort. It's really meaningful, but it's also very, very challenging. And again, you're on a budget and you've got so much time spent in that career that your well-being and health kind of take a backseat some of the time. So
yeah, definitely
had many times where happy hours was what got me through the week, and the venting with my friends, and there's always snacks at school. So you would just grab what you could to survive. And it started to add up on a lot of emotional stress through those years as well, that my health was always like the second thing that I could focus on, even though I wanted to, and I knew it was happening to me at the time, but definitely let the emotions kind of take the wheel for the eating and the habits in that case.
Yeah. And so during this time where you're kind of dealing with these life stressors and going for convenience foods, how did you feel during this time? Like, were you, like you said, you knew that you wanted to get into a routine. And so can you talk a little bit about like your mental state, your emotional state?
Sure.
Physically? How did you feel? Did you have disrupted sleep? Did you have disrupted mood? Can you think back to that at all?
Yeah. I was a teacher for over 10 years, so I've got plenty of memories for that. It was a like large chunk of time where there would be periods where I could get a handle on things and get myself to the gym and set my lunches out for the week, and things would be going well until there's something that disrupts that. It was just constant up and down, up and down. Definitely had issues with maintaining stability, losing sleep. Every Sunday was like, oh, I have to like get back in this grind. Got to make sure everything's set and ready to go, because you're basically on stage as soon as you wake up.
Yeah.
So the healthy lifestyle aspect of it, I could insert at certain periods, but it depended on the week. It depended on the school year. It very much took a lot of my time away, that if I started some healthy habits, it wasn't very long term. And then I would feel bad for getting off of it. And then I try to jump back in again. It just was such an up and down period and pattern.
Yeah.
Tough to get out of.
Definitely. I've worked with a few teachers, and I'm friends with teachers, and as much as they love giving to the kids and providing for the education, you can see the wear and tear it has on them mentally and also physically. Like, some of them have long commutes into the city where they're sitting in their cars for 2-3 hours in the morning, even before they get to the classroom. I have friends that work with special needs children and kids and students, and just the intensity of that and what they have to deal with on a day-to-day, plus, lack of funding and lack of support and all of that. And so by the end of the day, it's like you're exhausted, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And then you have to get up and do it the next day. Yeah. So I can totally understand where you're coming from in those challenges during those times. And so when you'd have your weeks of being on track, were you relying on any sort of protocols or diet programs, or were you just kind of like, I'm just going to eat healthy and try and exercise? And did that look like just like having salads? Were you doing any particular diets or anything like that?
For the most part, it was like, I'm going to pack a salad today, or I'm going to have an omelet for breakfast if I could even make it that soon in the morning. Typically, I wouldn't even have anything. The exercise, I would have periods of time where I'd get up very, very early to try to squeeze it in before work started. And that was very tough to do. And then, get ready and just start the day again, or be exhausted and try to fit in some exercise after school. Sometimes it worked out where I'd walk or go to the gym with a friend, but that varies with their schedule too. So it was still very inconsistent, and it did not stick with me. So we would have a month or so of good times and being able to make it to the gym, and then it's winter break and now it's, holiday time, and all this stuff is going down and we don't make it back for a couple months. As far as following like a plan of some sort, I'm sure I've tried all kinds of fad things, but I know for myself, I like variety of food. So I've always known, like, if I were to follow something that was too restrictive or wouldn't allow me to eat, even healthy, good foods, like can't have fruit on keto, that was not going to work for me. So towards the end, and actually up through about last year, I was playing around with fasting schedules. And I think that really kind of disrupted my connection between my body and my mind, but it worked when it worked. So I kept coming back to it. So I've tried all different kinds of fasting, from skipping breakfast or trying to eat from morning till noon, or morning to like afternoon, or flip it from eat to 4 to 8, like really small windows of time, which I'm just not getting the calories in. No wonder why I'm seeing results. That never lasted long term. It was hard, and I could do that pretty good for most of the week. And then again, the weekends were out the door. And in the meantime, I was still having drinks with my friends and venting and still adding that in. So it wasn't like the food that I was taking in during those windows was actually good for me anyway.
Yeah.
And I really lost like control of when am I even hungry anymore? What do I need for maintaining an emotional balance? And it was really crazy how that happened, even though I was seeing some results at times.
Yeah. So you felt really disconnected from just your hunger cues, your cravings cues. You were just like, I have to eat in this window. You weren't even focusing on quality of your nutrition. And I remember when you started the Cravings Code, you felt so relieved to be able to have breakfast and just be able to eat when in the morning and be like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to wait until noon to eat and I can actually eat.
Yeah.
So I remember that when you first started working with us. So besides fasting, was there anything else that you tried, but then throughout the process, you were just like, this doesn't align with my lifestyle, doesn't align with me? Was there anything else that stood out to you?
I mean, I've tried for a year. I tried the best I could a vegetarian diet, thinking like, okay, this is a good way for me to get more vegetables and fruits in. I always loved those foods. And I would do, again, decent for the most part, but then I would just crave something, and instead of just having a little piece of something, it would just be like a whole bag of something. And I realized I wasn't getting a lot of protein at that time. I didn't realize the impact of the nutrients like protein could help me be more satisfied. I didn't even really attempt anything like keto or things like that. It was just more restrictive eating overall. And avoiding what I thought was going to be a bad food, or buying light foods that just don't have the things that taste good. So I'm still never, ever satisfied. I just want more and more and more. And then finally I say, like, screw this. I'm going to go buy the bag of chips.
Right.
Yeah, nothing major, but it was just roll after roll of these patterns.
Yeah. And so you feel like the restrictive mentality came from just growing up sort of in diet culture and seeing like the low fat and the 100-calorie packs and the chicken and vegetables and the chicken and rice as like being sort of like the staple in terms of like the healthy diet. Pretty
much. Yeah. And the less processed, the better, but I didn't even understand what processed was compared to not. So it just, there were so many confusing things out there, from, have the light oils or light dressings and things, to now we need full fat things, like that's going to be better for you, but you can't have an apple with this. There was just too many combinations. And when I turned to the fasting, as I was like, well, at least I'm taking in less food. So my purpose was still to look good, not to feel good. And that took its toll. So I eventually hit a breaking point and said, like, I can't keep doing this. It's not long term. Like, this fit for the time that I was good with following it, but that doesn't mean I was actually healthy.
Yeah. Wow. And that's a big realization, right? I might have achieved that fat loss or weight loss, but I don't actually feel good having done it, right? I don't feel my best. I don't feel like I'm thriving, and this doesn't actually fit with my lifestyle. During that time of like flopping back and forth, and how long do you think you were doing that, from like, college to more recently? How long has that been?
I mean, it's got to be at least from college. Just the turning to like more restrictive periods of time of eating has been the past like 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And as I'm getting older, I like recognize like, oh, I got to get a handle on this, because if I'm not paying attention, all of a sudden here's another 5 pounds plus. And it was getting a little scary for me to realize that. And then my mind was just thinking like, well, if you want it to stop, you have to put in really hard work. You just have to. And then when I didn't, or wasn't able to do that, or just didn't feel like doing that, then I'd feel guilty. And then it was just the whole cycle of emotion. I'd feel good after accomplishing a good week. And then if I messed it up, it was like I just wasted all that hard work that I just did.
Yeah.
And that didn't help the situation.
Yeah. And so that's kind of some of the stories that you were telling yourself, is like, it's hard work to get to where I want to be. It's hard work to lose the weight. It's hard work to get back on track. And do you mean hard work as a combination of exercise and dieting together?
Yeah, both. Like my willpower not to give in to cravings and snacks, and to put in the time and the energy to consistently work out.
Wow.
It just is what it is, and you don't have any other way of doing it. So again, I always fell back into that all or nothing attitude. Even though logically I knew that wasn't right, it just always stuck that way.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like you didn't know anything else, right? You didn't know any other way, especially even if you didn't try like Weight Watchers or Whole30 or keto. There's a lot of discourse around eliminating a certain type of food or restricting or prioritizing one or doing the points. So
Yes.
even in the back of your mind, even though you're not engaging in them, that's what we see in social media. It's what we see in terms of our marketing in front of us. We're like, well, that's what it's going to take to get there, right? I have to take these out. I have to eat less and exercise more. But now we know that that's not necessarily gonna get us to our goals. It increases cravings, it increases hunger, and we can only do it for so long until our bodies are like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we're starving. You have no energy.
Right.
This isn't gonna work.
Right.
So you talked about an aha moment. You talked about like your breaking point. Was it a certain day? Was it a week? Was it you said like the pounds kept creeping up. It was another 5 pounds, another 10 pounds. Do you remember like around that time period what was going on, if you can share?
Sure. It was this year because I was still able to maintain some kind of a fasting schedule, and I still saw some of my like improvements in terms of weight, right? So I was able to continue that, although it was still difficult to do, and I had my ups and downs. But then, like, life circumstances happened. I ended up having surgery and just other stressful things happen, like all in a row. And then when I finally kind of came out of that and was like, well, I guess I have to go back on my fasting schedule because I like let all of that stuff drop. The thought of like, why did I not continue with this during this time? I need something that's going to maintain my sanity and my health even when I go through challenging times and when I can't, or when I'm just in a different kind of routine. And the thought of like restarting and kind of, because when you're in a fasting kind of mindset, or not a mindset, your body is used to a certain time of eating, and to retrain that timing again, it's like you're just back to square one. Yes. And I really was like, I've done this too long, too many years. I don't want to just have a program that is for short term and weight loss. I want to feel good. I want a lifestyle. I want this to be forever. I want to get back to basics. And I definitely lost track of like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to have. Like, what is my body needing anymore?
Right.
And I just needed a whole reset, complete reset.
Yeah.
And simplicity.
Yeah. Yes. And so you joined the Cravings Code, and you got a lot of those things. And, you know, you and I talked offline, you know, privately in the WhatsApp chat and even on Instagram, and you shared just how pivotal this program has been for you. And so how did you find me? Right? How did you find me, and how did you connect to Laura Cavallo Coaching, and kind of what attracted you to my brand and my messaging initially?
Sure. It was definitely perfect timing because I was just at this point of like, what do I do? I'm so like out of the element. There's too many people out there to follow and listen to, but one thing I have maintained for a while, and I'm proud of keeping it, is every morning I take an hour walk. And in that time, I just listen to, well, if I'm listening to music sometimes too, but I listen to podcasts and all kinds of stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be nutrition based, but I add that in. So I was listening to another like nutrition and fitness podcast that I like the people that run it, and you were interviewed. And your story just really captured me, and I really resonated with everything that you've been through too. And I'm like, maybe this is something that could help me just get back on track. I don't want a crazy complicated thing. I don't even need, or I didn't want at the time, like a meal plan or anything. I wanted to do this so I could implement it in my life and just kind of like set it and make it a lifestyle, a habit. So the Cravings Code just hit on lots of things. I definitely was off the rail in a little bit of like, I'm eating this bag of food and I don't even realize I'm eating it. Like there was many moments of that. And I recognized that I was just so out of touch with what a regular day of eating should be like anymore.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah, and we hadn't been connected that long. I think we'd been in touch for a couple weeks, and you had joined the Cravings
Yep.
Cleanup Challenge at first, and I think you saw really great success in just 7 days of applying Satisful plates. And then you're like, all right, the Cravings Code, it's on.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was like were you nervous starting the program? Were you like, another thing? Like, is this really going to be it? Because, to your point, there's a lot of people out
Right.
there, right? There's a lot of noise in the space, and there's a lot of people promising like weight loss and fat loss. And obviously this is a cravings program, but it does prime you for more sustainable fat loss down the line. What was your feeling going into the program?
Well, because it was called the Cravings Code, like that all right from the bat was like, that's really what I need to start with. Is I was just doing a lot of mindless eating and wanted to just retrain myself to like be more mindful, be more aware. So I appreciated that was the focus, and learning what the Satisful plate setup was, and even trying to follow it on my own first for a week. I was like, okay, this is doable. I actually enjoy eating breakfast. Like, I cut this out for so long thinking it was just not good for my body, like me specifically. And it made me feel like this could be a simple back to basics way of getting on track and getting back in touch truly with what my body and mind and emotions do for me and do against me too. So I need to recognize those signs. And I really love the combination of being with a small group of women and having your one-on-one help as well. So that combination accountability, that was definitely the thing that excited me. I really wasn't nervous. I felt good. Just knowing like, all right, I'm in it. Let's go. Let's roll with this.
Yeah. I remember you messaging me and just saying like, this program looks amazing. Like, when's the next round? Like, I don't think I can join this round. And I'm like, I'm not sure yet, but like, I will keep you informed on the radar. And then I think like 2 hours later, you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to join. I'm going to find a way to make it work. Like, I have some travel. I have some things coming up, but as long as I can watch the recordings.
That was it.
And I was
that was like one little blip of like, well, I'm going on vacation right away. Am I going to be able to focus? Because when I do something, I want to do it like full force, all or nothing. But this was how you implement that, because you need to understand how it will fit in your life no matter what's happening. So
yeah. And we'll actually talk about that, because I was looking at your reflection form that you filled out in week 3, and you're like, I went to a beer festival with my friends and like all of the positive stuff that happened. I was like, we're going to touch on that. So as the program went along, what was like the evolution for you? Like, did you have any aha moments, and what strategies have had a lasting impact on you that you're still applying today?
I think just knowing that each day is your start over, but not even each day, it's each meal is your start over if you slip. Because again, I always, went back to, oh man, I'm like off the tracks and start to feel guilty. So I allowed myself grace, and it was nice to share the moments that we were going through with the other group members. I think just knowing that every day we were going to share our meal, like what did we make, and cheer each other on, and knowing that I was doing this to build those healthy habits. And it's not just something you can read about. Like, you have to like kind of use training wheels first.
Yes.
That was really, really helpful. And I felt really good from the start of it. Like, all right, I got my breakfast down. What am I going to make for lunch? Like, it's exciting. What protein can I fit in first? Like, I was really into trying to figure out the different combinations I could use. And then eventually the other habits are so important too. And specifically the sleep. The sleep was such a big deal for me. I going through some of the life issues I had this past year, I was all off on my sleep as well. So I knew that was wearing on me. So intentionally focusing on how I could maintain a good sleep schedule from the very beginning, hand in hand of how I felt with craving and eating, and it just
Yeah.
all, the puzzles fit together as they were supposed to. And that was like just a huge aha, like, oh yeah, this is good. And like a few times where I didn't sleep well, I noticed right away. So the facts were there, and you know, the lifestyle changes were working for me. Yeah.
So happy to hear that. And like, so simple, right?
Right.
Satisful plates. And you mentioned liking variety,
Yes.
right? And that's what I love about Satisful plates, is that it really fits based on your own preferences, like your wherever you might be in the world or in your day, or even like your own like ethnic and cultural preferences, right? It doesn't exclude any foods, really. You can make Satisful plates your own. And you even shared, like, you went to on vacation on the second and third week, you went to a beer festival with friends, and like, do you remember how you navigated that? Do you want to share any of that?
And it's funny because some of my friend group, we jokingly talk about how much we eat and love fried foods, and you know, it's just part of our mentality to crack jokes at it, because some of us are perpetually on some kind of program or diet, and we're just making the best out of it, even though I know it's hard for all of us. So I still want to do those things. I still want to go to events that are fun, and I've done before. I just could go into it with different tools. So I'm still having the fun drinks and the beer that are there. I'm not going crazy like I did the year prior. I was like, all right, take it a sip at a time. Like, be there to enjoy what's in front of you, instead of making it like a race. And I knew that whatever I ate that day too was going to either help me or harm me. So instead of finding something at the food trucks that was all fried foods, I just waited until I could go to a restaurant and have something that was more satisfying and healthy for me. And I'm not going to feel disgusting the next day because I just went through all this. And so you have to like balance the things that make you happy. And it's just not an all or nothing kind of thing. So
yeah. And I thought that was really brave of you to join at a time where you're like, okay, I've got this vacation, but also B, show up to this beer festival with all your girlfriends and like stick to your cornerstones and your habits and the things that you knew were going to help you feel good, you know, amongst a group of friends that you've probably been spending a lot of time with over the years. They know how you eat, they know how you drink. And for you to bring in different habits and bring in this new identity into the fold, that is not easy. You get pressure, you get questions, you get the stares, you get there's sometimes a little bit of jealousy or a little bit of envy, like I wish I could do that, right? Or like, I thought we were all in this together. I thought we were all eating bad together. What are you doing? You're making us feel
commiserated together. Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
But so, you know, it takes courage to stand up for what you need and what you want. And that is an act of self-care, and that's an act of boundary setting. And, you know, I always say that cravings and fat loss doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not just diet and exercise. It is a lot of mindset work, and it's a lot of self-care and boundary setting and relationships and social work. So I'm sure that you experienced a lot of that throughout the program, with the shift in mindset and navigating some of these social situations as well.
Yeah. And I remember we discussed this too in the program, and it just totally made sense. Like, this is an act of self-care. And if other people can see what I'm doing for myself, maybe they can get the courage to do the same thing, or they get past that point of like, wait, you're not doing the same things we've always done. Why are you changing? And it could just kind of spread the word, but also shows that you care about yourself. It's deeper than just being on yet another nutritional program.
Yes. Yep. And you can inspire others, and, you know, hopefully they can then lead and work towards those healthier habits and lead a healthier lifestyle too. Today, just randomly, I saw my hairdresser who used to do my hair like 8 years ago. And I saw her today, and she is like super fit, and she's lost 100 pounds since I last saw her. And just like the evolution of like everything she's been through these last 7 years in terms of relationships and friends and her career and having changed her whole life. It was just inspiring that like she just met someone and was like, come to this kickboxing class and change your life, and she did it. And anyway, that was like sort of like an unnecessary adjunct, but I just saw her today, and so I wanted to share that. Was there anything that surprised you about the program, like at the end of the 6 weeks? Were you like, holy shit, or like, this is crazy, or were you just like, this feels really manageable and easy? Like what were some of your aha moments with the program?
I mean, everything made sense. And I guess just putting it all together, it felt so nice. Like, I don't feel bad starting that. Like, I don't think that this is going to be hard work. This is actually manageable. My mindset changed. So now instead of thinking like, well, what do I weigh? What, like with the fasting and putting all that extra hard work in, the restrictiveness, I wanted to see the results immediately. So I would constantly be looking at the scale. Now I'm not caring for that. I'm focusing and can feel the difference in how I feel. So it's just a different kind of measurement, and knowing that I'm putting things in my body and doing things for my body that are for the long term and for making it a well-being kind of thing instead of a physical look kind of thing is just a complete shift in my mind.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel rewarded at each meal, not the result of each meal. Yeah. So that makes me happy. Bottom line is I definitely am more mindful about what I am having, what am I doing all the way around. So
yeah. And we finished the Cravings Code program 6 weeks ago. And you've been able to keep up the habits. And what are the things besides like sleep and satisful plates? Is there anything else that you're doing now that have stuck with you out of those strategies that we talked about?
I think the big, like another aha, but the big moment of understanding is the cravings still will be there, but now I know how to manage them. So I don't have to cave, and I don't have to just open the floodgates up. So I think I still want chocolate or whatever it might be, but I either think like I'll have a little piece, or like let me wait and see if I still want this. Is this like the strategies that you have taught us really come in handy, and I try to figure out like, is this my mind playing a trick on me? Is it just because I'm used to having something sweet after this meal, or I had a stressful day? So it really has been a complete mindset change again of how I'm handling those situations where I would just kind of give in to anything at any time and then feel bad. And it's like, I never logically learned why this is happening, even though I just kept repeating the same pattern. So now I'm stopping and being more mindful about those moments. And it's just complete turnaround. So grateful for that.
Yeah. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy. It's like such a stressor off your shoulders, right? Because when you've been dieting for so long, or flopping between restrict and overeat, and these periods of consistency and then inconsistency just feels so heavy. You're like, oh, like I have to get back on it. And you feel so hopeless and and regretful for how you ate this weekend. And then it's like you're punishing yourself with like trying to eat healthy on Monday. Like, this is just, it like exudes freedom. It exudes just ease and like acceptance and flexibility. It's like, okay, like 100%. I can still have chocolate cake, but like I can also like have like a really satisful meal before having that chocolate cake, right? So you talked about how you're doing things differently now. You are a lot more mindful about your meals and how things make you feel. You are aware that cravings are totally normal and common, and they're going to come up. So instead of like stressing and working against them, you're actually just asking yourself like, why is this happening? How can I manage it better? You're focusing on sleep. You're focusing on stress reduction. You're being a lot more flexible with yourself. And it sounds like you're just also focusing more on showing up for yourself and that self-care through these healthy habits. Is there anything else that like you're operating completely differently than you did 12 weeks ago? Is there anything that you can think of?
Yeah, the guilty feelings are not there, because like I said from the beginning, you're always like the next meal away from restarting or just making a better choice for yourself if that should happen. But I really haven't even had that many, as what my old life would be like a slip up. So
Yeah.
everything is just falling in place because it fits together in place. I picked the better foods because I've been feeling better, because I've been getting better sleep, and because I'm not as stressed. And when I do have moments of stress, I know, hey, I got to take a break. Like, I'm going to go for a walk, or I know how much it would impact the rest of the day or how I felt the rest of the day. So I immediately want to alleviate that, or like prevent the bad feelings from coming out. So I do something good for myself instead of like wallowing and saying like, oh, I really screwed that up, or I went overboard here, or how did I do this again? It's that negative self-talk has dropped a lot because I know I've been doing the good things for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so impactful too, that self-talk on ourselves. And the words we say will impact how we feel about ourselves, how we act afterwards. And so I'm so happy to hear that you've shifted that, and it's become more positive, it's become more flexible, it's become more of an ebb and flow, right?
Yes.
And even the word like restart, like at each meal, like even think of it more, instead of restarting, as like just like a ebb and flow, right? Of the day and of the week and of the season. Like when we first hopped on, you're like, I'm just like still enjoying summer, right? Like we're just in a season of summer, and our nutrition and movement looks different than maybe it will in the fall, and it will in the winter. And so I'm so glad that you've like noticed like even those small changes in how you talk to yourself. So thank you for sharing that. So if there was someone that was maybe thinking of joining the Cravings Code, what would you tell them? But also, like, who do you think this program is like best for? Like, is it for the woman that's struggling with cravings? Is it the all or nothing thinkers, the yo-yo dieter? Who do you think that this program would benefit the most?
I mean, all of those people would fit, but I think for me at the moment where I was at, I just totally lost touch of what I really needed anymore. And I was tired of having to search for a certain kind of eating plan or whatever it might be. So I was just ready to have something set for a lifestyle that's simple and workable and flexible. So if you're looking for something that can just fit into any kind of life schedule that you have, challenges, ups and downs, you can fit this in, and you can have what you want to have too. It doesn't have to fit. It's not a meal plan. It's not a like you have to do this. It's this time. It just fits for anybody. So, and it's easy. It's not, doesn't cost you extra. It's just your life.
Yes.
So
Totally.
it's your mindset.
Good. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I like to end the podcast with asking everyone like what their favorite crave food is, what their favorite yum yum food is, what their favorite fun food is. Do you feel like sharing?
Sure. I'm definitely a chocolate sweets girl.
Me too. Yes, me too. My favorite.
We have a like Italian ice place nearby. So when I really would like it, every once in a while, I go get my salted caramel. It's like a gelato kind of thing. It's so good.
That sounds delicious.
Yes. So I still incorporate that into my life.
Yeah, of course. It's summer and it's something tasty and it brings you happiness. You know, at the end of the day, food is more than just fuel and more than just you know, a source of energy and calories, and we have to enjoy the foods that we eat. And you know, you practice crave and go, you have orders small, you know, you share with someone, or sometimes you just have your own and you're like, you know what, today I'm having the whole thing, and that is okay. And because you wake up the next day and to your point, you've got satisful plates to go back to anytime. I'm also a sweets chocolate person, like whether it's chocolate granola, chocolate covered pretzels, chocolate bar, chocolate peanut butter cups, chocolate chips, chocolate ice cream. It's my favorite.
Yes, it's delicious.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Katie. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to share, or any final thoughts?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. I just like thinking back from before starting this program, it just was a game changer, and I'm so glad I went through it. And just talking to you about it really proves how much has changed too. So I appreciate this opportunity as well. So it's all good.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for being on, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.